Folks, now the pizza's arrived and been distributed, we'll get underway again, and I'll just ask you to masticate quietly while we listen to our next reader. Next up is Mario Pillar. Mario also, just like Samuel, is a first year BCA, and he still hasn't done very much aside from that, so he's given it a go. A big hand for Mario, please.
Hey guys, I hope everyone's feeling fantastic, or good. I'll settle for okay, but nothing less, because it makes me look bad if all you guys are sitting there miserable. Just a few things about my story before I read it. It has two interesting qualities. The first is that although I tried very hard to write it as prose, it insists on being read with a poetic sort of rhythm, which makes for some very clumsy poetry that pays no attention to anything but rhyme. And it certainly doesn't bother with rhythm, but I make no apology for this. The second quality is that it can't be read without the company of a cigar. And because of this second quality, or latter, for those of you who like to say latter, I haven't progressed very far past the first draft for fear of throat cancer. And that's also the reason why this story doesn't yet have a title. I'm not going to smoke it because I've got a cold, and, you know, if I start coughing, you guys won't think very much of me. There were three men. The old man was the oldest. The young man was the youngest. And the middle man was more middle than either of the two others. They did not live together. In fact, they lived almost far away. But every one time or another, they met at the old man's place. The middle man asked one day, "How old are you?" And the young man replied, "That's all," said the middle man, "that's it. You've still got to go a while." The young man looked confused. The middle man explained, "You're too young." And the middle man heard as well. "Grow up. You're just a child. You need parental supervision. You must be this tall to go on the roller coaster." But the young man didn't want to wait. He'd been discouraged to his whole life. He'd been taught since he was very young that grown-ups were always right. "You'll understand," said the middleman, "when you're older." The young man began to disagree, but the middleman shook it off. This was not the type of thing, you see, that was worth talking of. The three men did not meet again for several days at least, and when they did, the reunion was kind of bittersweet. The old man and the young man never talked all that much, for the old man knew few English words, and the young man knew nothing but. The old man spoke some words for the middleman to translate. He wants to know, the middleman relayed. "How's your life been of late?" "So far, not too fucking bad," was the young man's response. "He says it's been good," the middleman passed on. The old man smiled as if both said, "Excelente," whilst the middleman whispered, "Why do you swear?" "Swearing? Isn't that what adults do?" the young man asked. "Dick, shit, bitch, balls, cunt, fuck, ass?" The middleman started lecturing, but then made himself stop. This was not the type of thing, you see, that was worth talking of. The next meeting was at an even later date, and the young man was late for the appointed date. What's more, when he got there, he couldn't even stand up straight. He wobbled and he wavered, and he fell into his chair, and he looked around with tired eyes as if he wasn't even there. And despite the fact he looked as if he'd sick up everywhere, there was a smile on his face and a smugness in his stare. The middleman, he saw this, but pretended not to care, though he could not ignore for long the smell of whiskey in the air. "And what have you been doing now? You've been drinking, haven't you?" "I've not done nothing," the young man said. "An adult wouldn't do." The middleman told him no, but soon cut himself off. This was not the type of thing, you see, that was worth talking of. It was half a dozen weeks this time, before the three men's meeting. The middleman had spent this time in a somber state of thinking. The young man broke his train of thought when he walked in with a sneer, and a cigarette held in each hand, and another behind each ear. He had nicks and scratches across his face and a bruise on his left socket. He was grazed upon his punching hand and had condoms in his pocket. His pants were ripped, his shirt was torn, his feet were without shoes. His arms were covered in needle dots, marks of substance abuse. He went and sat down at the table. threw a cigarette to the floor, and the middleman couldn't let this sad tale go on anymore. What have you done, you stupid brat? What have you become? All this to prove to your old dad you're too old to be his son? I'm not proving anything except that I'm not a kid no more. You're more a kid than you were before. You think it helps to break the law? You treat maturity as if it's a new toy you've opened up at Christmas, as if cigarettes are candy bars, and other ridiculousness. Sex, drugs and alcohol, this shit all takes its toll. But the worst thing is how you show it off and think it makes you cool. Whatever, man, I'm out of here. You don't give a damn. You oldies, you know, you've got no idea. You never understand. With that, he left the old man's place, never to return, leaving the old and middle man a situation to discern. The old man lit up a cigar, as he had no words to say. Can I have one? Asked the middle man. I'll need it after today. No, said the old man, shaking his head, after he took a puff. This is no good. It's not for you. You're just not old enough.
Thanks, Mario.